We're outside the convention center here, where in a matter of days, the Prime Minister and of course the heads of state of all the other SCO countries will be holding a summit meeting. But most importantly, this will also be a place where all eyes will be on that bilateral, very consequential bilateral between India and China. Now, the main paper here in China, the China Daily, is already building up to that particular moment, that summit. There are mentions, of course, of the entire summit meeting and its agenda and what is hoped to be achieved, but there's also a mention of that bilateral. Expectations are also mounting here in China, specifically after the offensive that has been led by the United States on tariff that has brought both Beijing and New Delhi to try and explore more territory, more common ground for cooperation, specifically on trade issues, and try and resolve some of those thorny issues that saw relations plunge into an icy chill. That, of course, is history, because for a year now, India and China have been engaging and have been trying to work through some of their problems, specifically related to their boundary disputes. There has been a meeting of the boundary resolution mechanism, the 24th meeting. We're yet to see, of course, more announcements with regards to the next round, but that is an ongoing process. It started 25 years ago. We're not expecting immediate breakthroughs of any consequential nature, either on the boundary question or, of course, on the other outstanding geopolitical issues. For example, China's support to Pakistan, specifically during Operation Sindoor, when we saw that that particular support extended beyond just moral as well as military, but, well, spilled into other domains which very much irritated India and filled it with unease, given the fact that the Chinese were sharing real-time intelligence with, of course, the Pakistanis on Indian troop movements and, of course, other consequential actions that India was taking against Pakistan during those 4 days. So that would be an issue that will perhaps come up in talks, but don't expect China to either not stop viewing this entire relationship through its zero-sum lens, but certainly there will be some give and take, and we're expecting that common ground to be found in trying to promote people-to-people contacts, cultural engagements between the two countries, and of course trade. Trade, as you know, viewers, gives both India and China plenty of room to intensify relationships. There has been, of course, there too drawing down, given the fact that the Chinese withdrew important support to India's critical sectors, specifically boring machines and other technical staff that were pulled back from India. There's also been, of course, a decision by Beijing to withhold rare earth metals that were at one time being supplied to India in adequate quantities. From the Indian side, of course, they will look to hopefully extract those concessions from China, but also from its own side allow for Chinese flights to continue between the two countries. Once again, remember, there has been a complete drawdown on that front, also people-to-people contacts and trade. Depending on the concessions that China gives, India might then think on once again going back to the table and lifting some of those restrictions on Chinese investments in India. So a lot to be passed through, really, in this consequential meeting. The tone and tonality will be very important. There will be high rhetoric, most probably aimed at, of course, the United States and other Western countries, as both India and China try and project themselves as the leaders of the Asian bloc, of the South, the global South, and send a message that to America and, of course, other Western bloc countries that both these nations will not allow anyone to dictate on strategic and financial autonomy. I want to begin by asking you, what expectations do you have from that meeting between India and China, the bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Xi, and how would you describe the state of relations between India and China?
Thank you for having me. Actually, we have been here to cover the SCO Summit. We know that the world leaders are expected to arrive today, and President Xi Jinping will hold a welcome banquet for the world leaders, including the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. We know this is his first visit in 7 years in China, and a lot of people are really having high expectation for the world leaders coming here to Tianjin. Of course, there were a lot of bilateral and multilateral meetings between these world leaders. And for India, I think China has been a neighboring country as well as India for many decades, and also India joined SCO in 2017, and Prime Minister Modi came to SCO meeting in 2018 in Qingdao, and now this year he came again in the Tianjin Summit, which shows that India's attendance and also the importance of SCO. And also China has been attaching great importance to boosting the bilateral and also the global multilateralism. Because earlier this month, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi paid a visit to India, and he held meeting with India Foreign Minister, and also they have reached a 10 consensus. The two nations aim to boost their bilateral relations and also boost the people-to-people exchanges, economic cooperation. So we are really hoping major outcomes between the two countries, as well as the SCO member states and other observer states, and also bilateral and multilateral meetings to boost multilateralism and multipolarity.
What are your hopes? Because we've seen a bit of a downgrading of financial ties, economic ties between India and China. Now that we've started talking again, do you see that this conversation could lead to a resolution of those issues? And how much of an impact has this drawdown had on not just your business but trade overall?
Well, in a lot of terms, China-India business has continued to grow in spite of all these issues, because there are a lot of synergies between China and India at the basic level. Well, the issues, I hope they are resolved and they are behind us. And from here on, we see nothing but an upside to China and India relations, not only for China and India, but for the rest of the world. We see China and India leading in development for many, many decades to come.
And this is my pleasure to be here in Tianjin to be a part of, to welcome the head of the states.
Why do you think the Indian business side has not been able to make headway in China? Why aren't we as competitive?
But the day by day, as a due to support between India and China, the relations are becoming better. So I think now it is able that India also is doing more good and China is also doing more better.
Been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.